This is Emerus and Luthien, and welcome to Girls with Sabers.
I need to shout out Dolores Jamie. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. But in our Rise of the Prodigal Princess video, she goes, yeah, but did you notice tiny Christian Bale? And I just want to say, yes, we noticed baby Bale. And we were grappling whether to say something or not, or even put it in the video like a little arrow going, oh, baby Christian Bale. But we didn't want to kill the mood. But yes, we noticed baby Christian Bale. And thank you so much, Dolores, for pointing it out. And we love you. And everyone go back and watch that video so you can see tiny Christian Bale.
The thing that if we keep on saying, if you want to understand the sequel trilogy, you have to know your Jane Austen, your Charlotte Bronte, and your Shakespeare sequel trilogy. It has always been about that the Force is not a legacy issue. Force sensitives is not about bloodlines. It's about the heart of a person. And you see that in that Shakespearean trilogy. You see that in Pride and Prejudice, that being a gentleman and the rights of a gentleman is not in the fact that you were born to a lord or a lady or a duke or a duchess. It was born in that you have the manners of a gentleman. And then you have Jane Eyre, which is all about who is born a monster and who is born a man. Do we have decisions based on, are we going to follow a beastly course? Or are we going to follow like a human course? And everyone can decide that choice. It doesn't matter if you were born with rank and privilege.
Which goes back to our Hotspur and how parallels. Mm-hmm. We didn't really get to fully develop that discussion because there's so many details and too many details. Why not show multiple pictures of Tom Hiddleston instead of talking more about Hotspur?
Truth.
I don't think J.J. Abrams might have felt like Poe was going to become a villain. But I have very little doubt that Rian Johnson decided to have Poe become the rival for Kylo Ren. Because there's just so much brother duel in that whole dynamic between the two. The Nerdist did a very good article on this. This was why Poe Dameron wasn't as heroic as you think. And what he says is, what is the recompense for all of that death? Nothing really. Poe learns a valuable lesson that sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture, that discretion is a better part of valor, and that you should always trust Laura Dern. Now that Poe is the new de facto leader of the Resistance, here's hoping that he'll find a way to redeem himself in Episode 9. Because as it stands right now, Poe Dameron's hands are staying redder than a Praetorian guard making snow angels on the plains of Crete.
Oh, mic drop! Nerdist for the win.
Because what they say is he is responsible for the highest count of life, and he is held with no responsibility. It's like he falls in a cradle of clouds, and both Holdo and Leia just kiss him on the cheek and send him on into these escape pods. I mean, there's just, and that only sets up a person with more failure. You see that in Hotspur. Like, Hotspur basically portrays Henry IV in the very beginning.
Yes.
He basically takes these princes as hostages, and he's supposed to release them.
Yeah.
And of course, King Henry IV makes Hotspur come. But at the same time, he's shaking his head and finger at Hotspur. He's like laughing at him and going, oh, you good boy. You are so honorable and I love you. Kind of like how Leia treats Poe. She saw him responsible for all this death, but at the same time, she is willing for him to go out and blow something up.
Yeah.
And encourages him to do so. There's no consequences. Poe still does not know what he has done and has not learned his lesson completely.
I thought it was very interesting. Obviously, Henry V, like the timelines, obviously will not totally match up with the sequel trilogy. But Hotspur is the leader of the rebels, the rebellion, and they keep calling him the leader of these rebels. And Henry V, Prince Hal, vows to kill him. He has never liked him. In real life, Henry Percy or Hotspur and Prince Hal were actually, there was like a huge age gap between them. Purposes of the play, they were similar in age. We get to the Battle of Shrewsbury, and Hal is now acting like a king.
Prince Hal is dead.
Yeah, yes.
King Henry V is alive. So much what Ben Solo is going to say about Kylo Ren.
Yeah, yes. Because he just shakes off his old persona. And he's not this tavern goer anymore who just picks fights and is leading this life of ego and vulgarity. King Henry IV, he's the engine of the play, but usually in the background. That kind of sounds a lot like Leia, very much the engine. Not only as a character, but in what her character does, what her character is doing, is very much the engine that's driving the resistance forward, but also the story. So Henry IV is the engine in the background. Next, there's the group of rebels energetically embodied in Hotspur. But that term, energetically embodied, I mean, you hear the word resistance, you automatically think Poe. And what is the resistance?
Sure do.
It's just a evolved version of the Rebel Alliance. So I think that is such a really nice parallel to think about.
You're talking about Shrewsbury?
Yes.
Okay, this is what amazes me, because when I read this, I think Poe. This is from Men at War by Christopher Coker. And it says, everything revolves around one word, honor. Hotspur's honor is never in doubt. There are frequent references to it throughout the play. At the very beginning, the king regrets that he himself has not been blessed with a son who is a theme of honor's tongue, which means he is honorable, like no one can speak Hotspur's name without honor being attached. Hotspur himself embraces the word honor. He's always first to attack the dishonorable natures of others. He is unwilling to share his honor with anyone, therefore all the more inclined to throw himself into battle before he should. That reminds me so much of when Poe gives Finn the jacket that he mended, and he goes, well, you know, I'm a poor sewer, plus the fact that I was too busy saving the entire fleet. It's like, it was my job to do that. No one else helped me. Hotspur is as much danger to himself as other. He apprehends a world of figures, but not the form, the actual substance of what he should attend or think about. It goes on to talk about how Hotspur is like a wasp. He is very stung and impatient, tying his ear to no tongue but his own. He will not listen to anything but himself.
Yeah.
He also demeans anything that is associated with the femininity of life. He believes that if he has physical intimacy with Lady Percy, it will make him soft and unable to fight. There was a lot of talk about how Poe represented toxic masculinity, and I know that's a buzzword, and so I want to like define it right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. When I say toxic masculinity, I'm not saying that masculinity is toxic at all. Both Lucy and I are manly men type of girls. Like, we want all the boys to come out with the laser swords and the blasters and go full on war, and hallelujah. There's also such a thing as toxic femininity, like someone who is nagging, someone that uses their body to get their way. I mean, there's
the list
toxicity.
goes on and on for both.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference between fighting with honor and fighting just with bloodlust. And that's what toxic masculinity means.
Poe was kept around not only because of Oscar in general, wanting this character to stay alive. But Poe Dameron, now being the face of the resistance, needs to mirror Hux in his action, but that also means he needs to be the opposite end of the extreme.
Yep.
If Poe is going to showcase the negative side of masculinity, then we need to see that opposite end in Hux. Look at what happens to Hux in The Force Awakens, and look at what happens to him in The Last Jedi. The exact opposite thing that happens to Poe. Poe is lifted up. Poe is revered. Poe is the golden boy, and yes, he gets shot down a peg or two, but he still is lifted up at the end, and everyone is following him to these crystal critters, and they get out. With Hux, no one listens to Hux, especially, higher ranking individuals, especially not Snoke, especially not Kylo Ren. And Snoke whips him around like a rag doll.
Yeah. Well, and what I was going to say about that is, as Rey's femininity increases, we've said that.
Yes.
Kylo or Ben Solo's masculinity is going to increase.
Yes.
And his masculinity is going to be a positive masculinity. His masculinity is going to be one where compassion can join with strength. I mean, that was whole Snoke thing, is that compassion was his weakness. And he needed to take that passion and unroot it from his heart. That's one of the things that when Snoke says, you need to kill the person that your compassion goes out to. You need to kill Rey. Because then that would kill the compassion within you. Because she is now attached to your compassion. And that's what toxic masculinity teaches. That anything that is associated with compassion or love or femininity or valuing a femininity as your complement should be destroyed. Hotspur negates his wife over and over and over again. Like, tears her down. Like, whenever she wants to make love to him, I'd rather go off to war and chop heads off than spend the night with you. That kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, it's that bad. Where what happens in the very end to Henry V, he gets to marry the princess in the end. The king, his enemy, the king of France, literally gives Princess Catherine's hand to King Henry V, and that's the end of the trilogy. They become rulers of a golden age. So,
which in reality only lasted 2 years, but we're looking at the play.
This is historical fiction.
I think Shakespeare, or whoever you want to say wrote for Shakespeare stuff, if you believe that, wanted to write something better than the history that we got.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
If you look at the Henry V trilogy, you don't see the facts. What you see is political agenda that is basically heresy in the Renaissance period. And that is that all men are born equal. And lineage does not dictate honor. If you look at Hotspur, no one really says that Hotspur is a villain in that play. Shakespeare never says he is an antagonist. Even when he dies, Hal calls him, brave Percy, honorable Percy. Like, I have to kill you because basically, historically, you're going to steal my throne if I don't.
Well, Hal cries after he kills him.
Yeah. I mean, it's this whole thing of honor.
Yeah.
But at the very end of Henry V, honor is given to anyone that fights with Henry V. These people who spill their blood with me, they are my brothers. I give them nobility, no matter where they came from. Now, that doesn't mean a title. That means that when they're on the field of battle, no one is superior. No one's blood that was spilled on that battlefield is less important than a lord's blood or a king's blood, that blood that was spilled on that day is all equal in significance.
Well, he gave them
And
worth.
He gave them worth, and that was not done.
Well,
I
and
mean,
it's
they
like the
didn't have-
king rarely ever fought, period.
No,
He was
no.
always back
Yeah.
with his advisors and, giving orders, giving the go-aheads, things of that nature. And then typically they were the first to flee or turn around and go if things were looking okay.
Because they wanted to protect the crown.
Correct.
It wasn't that the king was a coward. Their lives were worth more than the life of the commoner.
But this is what's going to be with Ben Solo. He's going to have this Aragorn moment where I will lose my mind if he turns around to whoever and says, and I will die as one of them. I mean, that whole thing in the Two Towers where Legolas comes up to Aragorn and in Elvish, he goes blah blah blah, Nathadagathyr, and which means they're all going to die because these boys, these young men, and they're too young, they're too old, they have nothing left. And he says they're all going to die, and Aragorn says, I will die as one of them. Oh man, it was so good. Yeah. But we're gonna see these moments.
Well, even Aragorn kissed the betrayer's forehead and called him his brother. Where, Boromir did threaten Frodo.
Yep.
Boromir did try to betray the Fellowship.
But I think Poe Dameron will have a Boromir moment.
Oh, that's exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Where twinning. He will have a Boromir moment where it'll be so horrific and so bad, but then he will turn around and he will save, and not that he's gonna die. If he did die a valiant death, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be amazing? But
I would love that. That's why we said at the very video essay, even Dark Dameron can be redeemed. It just means that his arc is going down, but that doesn't mean that Mercy can't lift him up too.
Mercy's going to lift everyone up.
So if you think we're just hateful of Poe Dameron and we want him to die a horrible death, then
you're right. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if someone's going to die, who's going to definitely die,
Hux and Poe. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Wouldn't it be interesting if Hux is the one that tortures and Poe just they both torture, but then Hux gets too maniacal
and Poe kills Hux to save Ben?
Yes.
Oh my god! Oh my god! You heard it here first, folks. Girls with sabers. New theory. Oh my god. Hux is going on. Oh my god, and Poe has this Poe has his Darth Vader moment where Hux is doing this to Ben where it's all Palpatine, and then Poe's no, and then oh my god, that would be insanity.
I can see the brother duel really going up in acceleration if Leia, when she dies, says to Poe, I want Ben to have the Falcon, and I want Ben to be the leader of the Resistance when I'm gone. Let's say that Ben already returns, and that everyone is skeptical of him. Wouldn't that just be the killer? If Poe has to give the Resistance and betrays Leia in doing so. Because how could Leia give... That's how he felt with Holdo.
Yeah.
With Holdo, he wanted...
Yeah.
He thought he was going to get
the
leadership. Well, that's why I was saying that Poe demeans women. I think Holdo was meant to look absolutely to the extreme feminine. I mean, here she was with purple hair, and she was in a Greek goddess gown. Poe acts her and treats her even before he ever talks to her. He goes and looks at his friend and goes, that's Vice Admiral Holdo.
Yeah.
The leader of, I can't remember the battle, he says. Put that in the comments. Yeah. Admiral Holdo. She looks so feminine that he all of a sudden believes that she doesn't know what she's doing.
Right.
So again, that's hatred for the feminine. Or like not believing that the feminine actually knows what you should do and be. Like that's why he turns Leia off. Like, oh, Leia will forgive me. But I'm just gonna turn her off.
Supposed to represent this
the Gaston.
Correct. Like practically in the Poe Dameron comic, I half expected him to lift up a Jedi text and go, "Why are you filling your head with like? Why are you reading? You know, like where are the pictures?" I mean,
Poe is Gaston is the toxic male.
Yes.
And the beast becomes the heroic masculine.
Ben and Rey have this ultimate plan. In order for it to work, everyone needs to be on board. Finally, Poe knows this. Finally, Finn knows this. You have two leaders in the Resistance now hating everything that Kylo Ren is. And we'll probably have a huge distrust of Ben Solo. But we need to have this moment where Ben Solo and Rey have this plan. Even if it's just Ben, has this plan. Everyone must stand behind that. We need Finn to lead a revolt, which will probably be Ben's plan. We need Poe to do something, which ultimately will be Ben's plan. But I want the both of them to say, we need to follow Ben Solo if this is going to work. So everyone now has to come together and work together in order to have this work.
Yeah. I think Finn and Rose are going to end up together. I think, of course, we know Reylo is in game. What I would love is for Poe to end up with Connix. Because wouldn't that be beautiful? Like the daughter of Carrie Fisher gets to marry the
Han Solo character.
The Han Solo character. So and she even tries to mirror Leia. Even if you just look at Connix in her costume, I mean she has the little
buns.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And she follows Poe around like even in when he does, we will be the spark that will burn the First Order to the ground. You see her in the background. Mm-hmm. So she is the wind beneath his wings. Yeah.
Did you ever know that
oh gosh. If there was ever a Star Wars karaoke, that'd be Connix's song.
Yes.
And then Poe would be Eye of the Tiger.
Oh my god. You've given me like no time to think of this.
Think about it, bake on it, get to me when you can.
Hello, this is Emrys, and with Luthien, thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click on that little bell icon that will give you notifications every time we post a new one. And of course, like, comment, and do all those things. Peace, love, and Reylo, guys.
All magic comes with a price.